we are currently in the process of building a sticker intro video. So until then, we're gonna be going fresh off of it. Welcome again to Black Friday. These opinions are not for sale. We got a fun one packed today for you. My name is Christian. We've got Chris. We got Sonny. We got Omar, and we got a special guest today. We got Christine. And man, I mean, no need for further introduction. Let's hop right into it. There's some craziness happening right now. It's called vaccine madness. All across the country, from the West Coast to the East Coast, depending on what state you're in and who's your governor and what's going on in the education system, we're seeing an increased rise of vaccine mandates. Kids are contemplating going back to college, if going back to school at all, and they have some tough decisions to make. So, Christine, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, what's going on? What's your background? Where do you go to school, and what's happening?
Certainly. So I'm currently a doctoral student at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. I'm heading into my third year. I actually became a candidate during the summer, which is a major milestone. And before that, I got a bachelor's and a master's from MIT in Boston. Thank you. And I studied the application of AI to game theory. So on Friday, July 30th, the University of Michigan sent out an email saying that the COVID-19 vaccine was now mandated for all faculty, students, and staff. You were required to submit proof of, I believe, getting at least the first shot by August 30th. And this was required even if you were learning or working remotely. So just to clarify that, I could sit in my apartment and never set foot on campus again, and I would still need to be vaccinated because COVID travels through Zoom. Everyone knows this. They also have suggested that there are disciplinary measures that will be enforced if you do not comply. And for undergrads who pay tuition, I'm a grad student, I'm supported by the university, so I don't have to worry about this. But for undergrads who are paying tuition, I believe the deadline for the fall semester is August 15th. So that gives them maybe 2 weeks to make up their mind about whether or not they want to get the shot if they haven't already. And even, in this 1 month time span, they don't have time. You don't have time to transfer to another university if you decide you don't want to comply and you want to find another school that isn't mandating the vaccine. So that's a little bit of what's going on right now.
That's insane.
That's madness.
Tell me about it.
That's just beyond ludicrous.
Yeah,
you could be in online school and still have to be vaccinated.
Yeah, and I actually have not talked about this publicly, but I was seriously considering trying to find a way to move out of state and work on my PhD remotely until things went back to normal, because I was worried that this would happen. I just didn't think that they were going to mandate it even if you were working remotely. Like, that is absolutely insane to me. Now, to their credit, they have said that there will be medical and religious exemptions. However, the criteria for what will pass has not been specified. They've been very vague about how many will be allowed. They've made it clear they are expecting a minimal number of exemptions to be requested. And just for more numbers, I don't remember what proportion of the faculty and staff have gotten vaccinated, but amongst the students, I believe 82% are vaccinated. So that is well beyond the 70% threshold that they have been telling us was the benchmark for normalcy. For months, they actually were telling us that once we get to 70% vaccination rate amongst the student body, the mask mandate will go away. And so they did drop the mask mandate. And actually, as of today, they have reinstated it regardless of vaccine status. So they've been changing this and changing this and changing this, and you just have to go along with it. You're not being given any time or resources to react. And someone like me, a grad student, I can't find another situation in the span of 1 month. That's just not going to happen. So.
Well, and see, that's where I honestly think they're going against the science. The fact that they are enforcing it for remote students and also going against herd immunity. So you can see, I just Google it, July 26th, they announced that 76% of the students on the Ann Arbor campus were vaccinated. 76%. That is a large majority. That is a super majority are vaccinated. Now I believe, Christine, it's 81%, I believe.
Yes.
So 81% of students, a super majority are vaccinated, and a lot of the faculty are vaccinated as well. I don't think it's actually as high, which is funny. Students are more likely to be vaccinated than the faculty. You have, and young people are the ones not dying from COVID, but I digress. The fact that you have the university pushing this so hard for people who are not going to be on campus, for people who honestly at this point don't really need to be vaccinated. These young people don't need to be vaccinated, and their excuse is the COVID variant, which has nothing to do with the vaccine, because they're saying it doesn't work on the COVID variant, so you have to be masked. So why even be vaccinated? It's just all of the science, it's a big loop of, trash. It doesn't make sense. And that's why the university pushing this. I'm very happy that we're fighting against this with the chapter on campus, and we're doing as much as we can to fight against it, because this is actually ridiculous. The fact that they're trying to manipulate students into getting this vaccine.
Yeah. Well, and what makes it even more insidious, in my opinion, is the fact that they brought the mask mandate back. And look, I'm not going to comment on the efficacy of wearing a mask, of what kinds of masks are appropriate or not appropriate. I'm not going to talk about that. I can tell you, having been a student living through this for the past year and a half, it is disordered for college students to be walking around in masks all the time to protect them from a virus that, unless they've got a serious case of comorbidities that they're living with, that it's a virus that is not going to kill them. And it really, a big part of college, a big part of graduate school even, is the social experience. And when you're walking around seeing all these other people with their face masks on, subconsciously, what that is communicating is that these are other people who are just like rats. They may have a disease, and you're living through the apocalypse, and you need to stay away from each other. And I studied engineering. Let me tell you something. We do not want to be staying away from each other. We want to be in each other's dorms, staying up until stupid o'clock, working on homework together. Okay? No. Okay, you're ruining something, not you, but the university. You are ruining something that is crucial to the college experience. And yeah, the students who are deciding, if there are students who decide to withdraw and maybe take a gap year, you know what? I wouldn't blame them. Unfortunately, I'm on my own financially. I can't actually do that for various reasons. So, I kind of am stuck and have to figure something out. But again, I don't blame the undergrads for deciding to take a gap year, or the recent high school graduates who are deciding to just, maybe not even go to college and instead try and get a real job. So yeah, it's just, but yeah, I feel very strongly about the mask mandates, and just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. My question, I guess, for all y'all is, how do we get here?
By
being sheep.
Yeah, I agree with you. But here's the thing, though. I don't think that, let me put it this way. If you got the vaccine when it was first made available to you, I don't think that makes you a sheep. What makes you a sheep is when you go along with this stuff just because you don't want to deal with ostracization and you don't want people looking at you weird. Let me tell you something. I never once went around wearing a mask outside. Unless we were tabling on campus with Turning Point, in which case there were some optics to consider. I didn't want us to get thrown off campus, kicked off the diag. Other than that, I spent all of 2020 not wearing masks outside pretty much. And, downtown Ann Arbor, I was pretty much the only one who wasn't doing that. I got a lot of dirty looks. I got very good at learning, like decoding people's facial expressions so that I could tell who was giving me stink eye and who wasn't just by looking at their eyes. And let me tell you something. You do that for months and months, you grow a spine, and you're not afraid to speak up. And I think a lot of these kids are just afraid. I'm a little older than a lot of them. I'm 25 years old, but you get a 19-year-old kid who's just starting college and doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, doesn't know what his values are, and is just trying to go along and get through this. I don't blame them for quote unquote being sheep. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. I have a friend who I just talked to here recently, and she was basically forced to get the vaccine by her university because she plays sports at her university, and also, of course, with her classes and everything. And she couldn't do anything on campus, couldn't even come on campus unless she got the vaccine. And so she called and was crying and was telling us how she had to get the vaccine to do all the things she wanted to do in her life. And she didn't want to, so she was kind of forced in that way. And I just was like, that's horrible. You know,
Yeah.
we live in a free society where you should be able to have the choice whether or not to say, hey, I want to get this vaccine. And as we already mentioned, it's not that we're anti-vaccine, we're just pro-choice. It's your body. You make those choices whether or not, hey, I want this, or no, I don't want this. And not to be forced by universities or colleges or whatever the case may be. You know, that's just insane to me. It's just insane. And this is happening in real life and in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And I just want to be clear, like, we do have a protest coming up on Wednesday on Central Campus in Ann Arbor. We're going to be on the Diag, assuming everything works out. We're going to be there from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesday, August 11th. Please come on out. I do want to say, if you do come out, don't be yelling that the vaccine is going to kill people and that it's, made by Bill Gates. Like, don't leave your conspiracy theories at home, and definitely leave your political flags and things like that at home. We're not about that. We just want to protest the mandate and the way this is being handled by the university. If you got the vaccine, you're welcome, as long as you don't try to bully other people who are not vaccinated and showing up to this protest. If you aren't vaccinated and you show up to the protest, you're more than welcome to, as long as you don't go after other people who got the vaccine and call them sheep. Again, like, don't forget who's responsible for this nonsense and who's creating the problems, because it's not the vax versus the unvaxxed. Okay, it's really not.
No, but man, it's absolutely crazy. And the mitten itself in Michigan, Ann Arbor of all places, they're just giving you the ultimatum, and people are going to have to make decisions, from this.
Yeah,
and crazy. I just don't know how this could hold up in court, but I guess it can. I don't know.
Well, the issue with that is that courts are slow. This school year is going to be gone by the time it hits the courts. I mean, we had gone to a protest the other day, Christine and I and a few others, and there was someone there talking about his case is not going to be heard until 2023. I mean, students don't have time to put their lives on hold for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and for this to be held up in court. I mean, it's not going to hold up in court. I can guarantee that these vaccine mandates are not going to hold. And no matter what the Instagram fact checker tells me, it's not going to hold up. And that's what I would hope that would happen. But I'm just really I want there to be change. That's why we're doing this protest. I really hope that for those students that are hoping to not have to be forced to be vaccinated or don't want to be kicked off campus, I hope that this makes a change and shows the university that, you have a large portion of students that don't want to get vaccinated. Now, it's definitely not the majority, since 80% are already vaccinated, but that means that there shouldn't be a mandate anyway. But,
Yeah. And their credibility, the university's credibility in terms of handling this pandemic has just been completely shot through. We were talking a little bit about this before the show, but in May 2020, when we were still required to work from home, I was getting sick of it. And I had found out from somebody I worked with that my building was pretty much empty. So in May, I started sneaking in, actually, because my ID card still worked. And then about 10 days later, this is a building with 4 floors, okay? So it's not like I was, in close proximity with anybody. About 10 days after I started doing that, and maybe seeing a grand total of 8 people in the building at any given time, the campus police showed up to the building. Apparently somebody had called them to say that there were people who weren't authorized to return to work, like, entering, and we needed to leave. And we were told that if we went back into the building again, then there'd be a problem. And later that evening, one of the facilities managers emailed the university community and said, hey, we've now changed your ID card so that unless you're authorized to work, you're not gonna be able to get into any of the buildings. So yeah, like, things like that are why their credibility is so just shot at this point. And that's why people are so upset about this mandate. To give you a good example, it'd be like let's say that you have an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend who it maybe in one area is actually trying to get you to do something good, but because it's paired with this abuse and them not treating you well and not giving you reasons for why they're trying to get you to do a certain thing, you're gonna, like, you have an instinct to rebel against whatever it is they're telling you to do because they've been abusing you. And that's kind of what this is. That's why people are so upset about the mandate. And it really has very little, if anything, to do with the efficacy of the vaccine and whether or not it's approved by the FDA, whether or not it has side effects. Like, we're not talking about that. We're specifically talking about the mandate.
No, it seems it's beyond science. It's beyond all comprehension. Yeah. People have just absolutely gone off the rails. Man, this is absolutely nuts. Y'all go ahead and support the chapter at the University of Michigan. Christine, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you coming on such short notice.
Yeah, thank you, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yeah, have a good night. That was good to shine the light on what's happening on these universities where not every student has a voice or a platform to say what's happening, especially because they're being pushed to be quiet or pushed to kind of go with the flow and like Sonny said, be a sheep. And that's why we had mentioned this beforehand before the show that one of the largest populations that are unvaccinated right now are Black people. I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on that. Like, why do you think Black people aren't getting vaccinated? Now, you have your woke white liberal will probably say it's because they don't have access to it. It's free. It's free.
It's absolutely they're literally everywhere. You can't give them away fast enough. They're everywhere.
Exactly. So what do you guys think? Why do you think Black people aren't getting vaccinated?
No, I thought about this for a little bit, and as you said, the liberals will say, well, it's because they can't get the vaccine, but most of the vaccine hotspots are in those minority communities. So I'm like, that's not the case. And to be honest, I think it's because most Black people will think that, and at least from the ones I talk to, they're not certain about the vaccine and that how the CDC switches up on it so much. We don't know. It's just they don't want to be guinea pig, basically. Like, nobody wants to be the one who gets the vaccine and it ends up a zombie one day, according to one of my friends said. And I think that's the reason why many Black people haven't gotten it, is because in their communities they're like, you got the vaccine, and it's kind of like a cultural thing for them now, because those who had the vaccine now are the ones that seem to be listening to what everybody's saying instead of actually thinking of it for themselves, which is kind of unique for the Black community as a whole, if you actually think about how they usually tend to be when it comes to what the culture says. So what's your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I think there's some genuine distrust going on.
Right.
People aren't sold on it. There's people that believe that the government, went and gave the Black community syphilis, that they went and introduced crack into the Black community. There's still people that I know that hold that they believe that to be truth and 100%. And so I can understand if you believe that to be true, why you'd be skeptical. Everybody just mass shooting out a vaccine to you, especially targeting your community the whole time, saying, hey, like, come on, go get this. Like, maybe they're like, hey, you're not going to get me this time. Like, not this time. I can understand why people might be skeptical of that. I can understand why people are skeptical because this thing was rushed, very, very quickly. And maybe just people aren't just having it. Maybe people just don't want it. It's maybe the community isn't a monolith like we all, really came to believe. Like, oh, we all just gonna get in line and do whatever they tell us. Well, no, man, maybe these people just really don't want it. They're not about it. Like I said, man, this thing is available everywhere. Literally everywhere, man. Out here in Miami, their nightclub was offering vaccines at night, like from 12 to 3 a.m. You can get it anywhere at any time. Like, you can literally get this thing anywhere. So no, accessibility, it's not a thing. It's not an issue at all. People can get that whenever they want it. They don't want it, they're not going to take it. And now,
exactly.
Now what?
It stems from what the experiments that came from Tuskegee, especially with syphilis. Right? That's where it stems from. Yeah. That's why Black people don't even go to the doctor. Okay. For years, we've been experiments of the U.S. government and a lot of doctors who either work with the government or just curious for their own, for whatever reason. they're just curious about Black people, as if we're really that much different from white people in that regard. But what I do want to say about the whole vaccine situation is that it's your choice whether you want to get the vaccine or not. But I do find it to be very not necessarily hypocritical, but it's very odd that okay, they'll listen to Joe Biden about everything else plus this whole mask mandate, but they won't get the vaccine. I find that very odd, it's just all interesting.
Or what's really interesting is the fact that the Black community will vote 90% plus for the people who are mandating the vaccine, but not get the vaccine. Now, that's kind of interesting to think about. And that's one reason why I always say that the Black community doesn't actually pay attention to politics. They just see that D and they check it off. And that's really all the Black community does with politics, which I think as, Black conservatives, that's something we need to work on, is actually having discussions. Because, I mean, I'm sure we've all had a discussion with a Black person who thought that they were a Democrat their entire life. And you're like, well, let me run you by some Democrat policies and see what you think about. And they're all like, no, I don't agree with any of that at all. Not at all. And that's when it's like, oh, so you just haven't paid attention and what's happening. And you don't know exactly which side is which or what's happening. You just heard that Republican racist, conservative bad.
Right.
No, not at all. I mean, the biggest thing here is how you're going to tell these people to go ahead and vote for the same people that are literally going to take away your livelihood if you don't go ahead and get that shot. They're literally going to advocate for you not to have rights to go into a business, go into an education system for your kids to go get an education if you don't go ahead and give them a shot that was passed within the last year. And you're going to go ahead and vote for them in full force to let them go ahead and try that again for the next 4 years. You're going to go ahead and say, yep, that's fine. And they're going to go do it again. And I really hope people wake up and see that that's going to happen right now. That's literally what's happening right now. These people are literally saying, I want to see proof. Like, I want to see proof everywhere you go. Like, that's insanity to have to provide medical information everywhere you go for something. Even in fact, there's video today in France. People were eating outside, and the police were scanning their phones to see if they had their, COVID stuff down, their passport, literally vaccine passport, as they're eating and sitting down outdoors, going up to people. Yeah,
for all those back to blue people,
right?
Like, America, but man,
and that's what I wanted to say. Two things is that officers who will supposedly do their jobs to mandate the vaccine, that's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous that you could sit there and be an officer of peace and go around checking people to see if they have their vaccination cards or vaccine passports, whatever the case may be. That's so insane to me. How could you sit there and go to sleep at night knowing that you are not helping out your community in any way, shape, or form, and actually going against people's rights or for which you were sworn for, which also leads to a good segue of Barack Obama being at a party for his birthday without a mask on.
Oh, I got you. No, I made that ready to go. I got you on that.
Without his mask on.
Well,
like we were talking about, the elites are sitting here telling you, get a mask on. He's was talking about other politicians saying that, oh, they're not for the vaccine or they're not for masks. But then's at a whole birthday party for his 60th birthday party without a mask on. And these pictures are taken by his DJ. So these aren't like some conspiracy theory. These are literal pictures taken of him and others, famous people at his birthday party.
You had the New York, I believe it's the New York Times, said that they were sophisticated and vaccinated, the people who were at the party. So they are looking at people who are unvaccinated. I'll say I'm not vaccinated, when they're looking at us and saying we are stupid. We're the stupid people. We're the stupid population. And they look down on us. That's their goal, divide us even more. And now it's, it was race. It was political affiliation. Now it's vaccination status.
You're a barbarian, brother. We are barbarians. Those of us who do not have the vaccine. And as we said before, we're not anti-vaccine. But I just think it's so funny that those who are the elites, politicians or whatever they want to title themselves now since they're out of office, is that they'll tell you, hey, get the vaccine, wear your mask, but it's rules for thee and not for me. because I'm of a higher social status than you. Like, that's just insane. And people are actually going along with this stuff. And you can't even blame them. You can't blame both Barack Obama for not only not wearing his mask, but for those of them who will agree with what he did and still go outside and wear their mask. How are you going to say, well, these are sophisticated people, but then you go outside with your mask on. So what does that tell me about you? You just look dumb.
You're a peasant, so you're a peasant. You don't have the same rights that he does, and that is
Right.
trash. That is garbage, and that's where.
And this is why we have to remember that politicians and the elite are trash. They don't care about us. They don't care about your health. When was the last time any of us, please raise your hand if you have, when was the last time you heard a politician talk about healthy living, sleeping, not smoking, taking vitamins, like exercise? None of them. They're all fat and old. They don't care. They're unhealthy as can be. They just want to shoot you up with whatever drug this is. Now, I'm not saying that the vaccine is bad. I'm just saying that the fact that the government wants you to take it so bad, there's an ulterior motive, and that's my opinion and my opinion only. I don't know what that motive is, but.
And let me also say.
Did he drop?
Oh, we done lost him. Man, we
lost him.
Yeah.
I'll say one more thing then before he comes back is that, my personal belief, and I don't remember if I've said this on the podcast before, but I think that this vaccine is really just a test to see who listens to the government. They want to see who is because we're all going to be on a list of vaccinated or non-vaccinated. You're back. So basically, my hypothesis is that I think this vaccination status is just to see who listens to the government when they're told and who doesn't, and then those who are decided to be dissidents, that we're going to be. Whatever
Exactly.
you think will happen.
Yeah. And what I was going to say is, let me also say, what I find is funny with this vaccine, which it hasn't happened with any other vaccine that I'm aware of, and I stand to be corrected, is that they're trying to promote it by giving out money, giving out food. And the food, as you already mentioned, that they're giving out isn't healthy food. It's donuts, it's pizza, it's French fries, it's coffee, all the things that are not necessarily good for you. These are the things that they're trying to get you to get. It's like, you want me to get a vaccine to be healthy, but you also want me to eat unhealthy food to make myself even worse.
Yeah,
how
and
does that work?
That 70% of patients in the ICU who are on the breathing machines, on the ventilators at the start of this pandemic, they were overweight. And I'm overweight myself, but obese and overweight people were way more likely to die of COVID at any age. That was one of the standards. You could classify that as a disease that you're living with, similar to like heart disease, asthma. Being overweight, you died a lot quicker of COVID, or you're more likely to die. And to the fact that it's just so ironic that, what was it? Krispy Kreme is giving out donuts, and, you have, I think Burger King did something too, if you're vaccinated. This is healthy living. I'll take a Whopper with extra cheese.
Now, what I seen also today too, is that somebody, actually a father of mine sent me this, is that they said that they're going to start taking money out of your checks if you're not vaccinated. That's something they're going to start doing. It's taking money.
Who, the employer?
Yes, your employer. If you come to work and you are not vaccinated, will start deducting $50. It was a certain company. And actually, I'll look it up right now while we're talking so I can get my facts right. Yeah. But they're deducting money from your check if you're not vaccinated.
Isn't that illegal?
I feel like that's illegal.
It should be illegal if it's not. Hold on.
That's the thing. How is all of these vaccine mandates and things that they're pushing these days, like, how is this acceptable? Like, I'm getting to the point, and I'm glad Christian dropped out, but I'm glad that he left this libertarian rant right here, because this is my point. The fact that the United States, we call ourselves the land of the free, but we're honestly full of it. We're not free at all. We're getting to the point that the government is deciding on how to punish those who are willfully going against them, whether that is to not get the vaccine. Like, they're gonna. I've heard talk where people are like, I've heard they might take away driver's licenses. Your a right to fly. Like, I will be walking to work. I will be riding the bike. Honestly, I'm a whip it without the license. It don't matter. Like, that, I'll take that ticket. Like, you can't. This it's getting to the point that this is going to boil over. That they are pushing back on Americans who really want to just make their own decision. And it's despicable. The fact that we continue to call ourselves the land of the free, I don't think we really deserve that anymore. We're getting to the point where we're no longer free.
I totally agree with you, Chris. It's a travesty. I just wanted to point out, of course, this is I'm gonna call this my professor rant. You guys were right in calling Obama an elite. Anybody that has gotten to that pinnacle of president or the president's cabinet or anything like that, once they're regulated out of that office or that position, I think my professor called it non-governing elites. So they're not the governing elite, but they're up there. They have as much influence as a governing elite. So y'all were right to call them an elite. That was an academic term. Now, is there anything wrong with Obama having a party per se? No. It's his birthday. Let him enjoy himself. But the problem was that he is over the top with the mask. His chosen successor, because I don't even think he wanted Hillary Clinton to be his successor. He wanted Joe, and subsequently Kamala. But his successor is pushing the whole mask and vaccine mandates. So if they're going to do this, then he needs to stand by it the entire way. It didn't matter if 700 people were there, which I've heard reports there were 700 folks there. What mattered was if they all wore masks, then he could have had, then nobody could really say anything. I mean, some people would still say something, but nobody could really say anything because he adhered to his own rule. He wore a mask, but he didn't. Nobody did. So Barack Obama was wrong for that. And anybody who's with him is wrong for that. I love it, and I always am trying to squeak in pro-life stuff. I just love this whole it's my body, my choice thing, unless we're wearing a mask, unless we have to wear a mask or get a vaccine.
Exactly.
I just love it.
Now, let me also say that I checked my facts here. It doesn't say the company, but it's a post, and it says going too far with a bunch of question marks and exclamation points. It says unvaccinated workers could receive $50 monthly deduction surcharge from employees. And the caption says that those who do this, basically their paychecks will be deducted from. It says some companies are going to do this. Now, it doesn't say which one, so this might honestly be a conspiracy. But this is something that I do believe can happen in the future with what's already going on nowadays. Now, like I said, I don't know which company's doing this, if there is one, because it's not stated. But this is something that could possibly happen, and definitely we can see in our foreseeable future because of what's already going on with those that are going to universities who have to get mandated vaccines. Why don't companies do it and take money out?
You already have employers doing that. If you look at any hospital, they're mandating it. And I've already been in touch with just from me putting on this protest in Michigan. I've been in touch with people who are doing other protests, and I was talking to this gentleman at a protest in our capital in Lansing, and we were at the Capitol building, and he was letting me know that he's a medical worker and stuff. And from his experience, hospitals, they don't care about whether or not you're vaccinated. It's all about the optics. They need the numbers to show that like the majority of people are vaccinated. For instance, nurses, they don't care about nurses. They can replace you. You're replaceable. But if you're that heart surgeon who does the job always right and you're great at your job, they don't care if you're vaccinated or not. They need you. You can get that exemption easy. But nurses are getting fired left and right now because they're not getting the vaccine. And that was the entire point of that protest that I would say probably had 500 people at it, was that the fact that nurses are going to lose their job. And that's just ridiculous. Now, I would say don't support these hospitals, don't support these businesses that are penalizing employees and making their own decisions with their own body. That's when we need to step up and stop supporting them. I would never go to a doctor's office or a hospital that was supporting those instances. If I'm dying, take me to the other one. I'll die. That's fine.
Right. And let me say too, if a nurse is working at a hospital, she sees COVID patients one-on-one probably all the time. Wouldn't you think she would be more susceptible to be wanting to get the vaccine than probably any other person? So if a nurse herself is saying, hey, I don't want this vaccine, What should that tell us? You know what I'm saying? She's the one watching people die in the hospital with COVID, and probably people who have COVID and have the vaccine. You know what I'm saying? So like, what message is that sending us when even the nurses are like, "Hey, I'm good. No, I don't want the vaccine myself."
Yo, man, nurses are hardcore, man. I always see them out there taking smoke breaks and stuff, man. They be smoking those cigarettes, bro. They always be out there. They be going hard, man.
I mean, they're working 12 to 14 hours a day. Like you said, Sonny, they were saving lives. And the fact that they don't want to get the vaccine. I mean, of course, there's so many that have gotten the vaccine and they're pushing it. Like, I hate when you go to the doctor now and, you know, they're like, so are you vaccinated? It's like, yeah, I'll get there eventually. Like, don't worry. Don't ask me them questions. Like, it's getting the politicized questions. But, you know, I just think that this is ridiculous. The hypocrisy is where, and I'm going to continue to say that, all of this hypocrisy, Obama and throwing these ragers, and, you know, it looked like a great time. But something that's interesting is the fact that you only saw those couple photos from the outside, and then the DJ had those photos from the inside. And it looked like she took those on like a 30-year-old phone. The fact is, they didn't want pictures to come out of that party. No, they took your phone away. I guarantee you.
They made him delete them. They made him.
Yeah, that's my point. Is why? Because they weren't.
Because they think we're stupid. Because they think we're stupid. They call us Obama variant. If anything else spreads out, it's calling the Obama variant. That could see right. You begin coming up with the greatest hashtags. But no, this is absolute nonsense. You think that they can go off and do all this stuff, but we can't do that after Lollapalooza? Now Chicago's locked down again. But they had to get Lollapalooza, and so they said it the day after, a couple days after, so that when August hit and everything, they could make sure that but it's a crisis, though. It's a crisis.
Or Mayor Bowser in D.C., she locked down like 3 days after her birthday party.
You know, and nobody's catching on to this. Nobody's questioning this. People, they think you're stupid. They think you can't put two and
it's
two
not
together.
that they think a person's stupid. I'm sorry, but people are stupid. That's the problem. That is the major problem. And I will have to say this honestly, is that they don't think, oh, people are stupid. Honestly, the majority of people aren't. But there are the few that are stupid who are adhering to everything they're saying and walking around doing everything they want them to do. And this is why they can get away with it. I mean, think about it. The elites can only get away with what they get away with because there's people who are following what they say. You have no more power than what power people give you. So the power that you have is coming from your subjects. Then the subjects are listening to your every word. You are stupid. I mean, you're not. It's not like you're ignorant. You're just willingly dumb, and like there's nobody to blame but yourself.
You know what? That reminded me of what was that? Men in Black. Right before Will Smith actually joins the Men in Black, and he was questioning everything he saw, right, and about aliens and whatnot, and he was. And what did Kate tell him? He said a person is smart. People as a group are dumb, panicky, and they're just idiots. And you and I both know that. So I'd have to bring that. I know it came from TV, but you can learn a lot from dumb things you watch on television. So I would actually say that inadvertently they brought up a good They brought up a good point that is true. People as a group, we can be stupid. We can make dumb decisions. We can panic. A person, me as an individual, I hope to believe I'm smart, at least, or smart enough not to get myself in dumb situations or put myself in a bad situation or things like that. But as a group, we might make stupid decisions or decisions that are going to impact us, that are going to have negative impacts on our future.
Facts. I actually was listening to something not too long ago. It was talking about how, as you mentioned, people in groups tend to have fear of being the only one to disagree with everybody else. So there was this case study that they did, and I forget what university it was at, but they got groups of 5, and it was all different types of groups of 5, but groups of 5, there would be 4 people in on the test that they were doing, and 1 person who wasn't in on it. So they were walking to a classroom, and there would be 2 + 2 equals what on the board, and they would have 5 on there. And so, let me back up. Let me get this right. So they would have 2 + 2 equals what? So the first 4 will come in and write 5 instead of 4 on there. Then the last person will watch everybody walk in and put 5 on the board, and then come in and write 5 on the board, even though that person knew it was 4. And they weren't in on the test. And they did this with all 5 groups that they had with the 5 people. And each time that person would walk in and do exactly what that person in front of them was doing, because it was a group and they didn't want to be the one disagreeing with everybody else, even though they knew the answer to the solution. And as you mentioned, it's like when people get in those groups and around people who are going a certain way, nobody wants to go backstream. Nobody wants to go against the flood or the tide and be that person that's supposed to stand up and be a leader. Everybody wants to be followers. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot in our country, is that there's only few leaders and many, many, many followers. And those followers are just listening to those bad leaders that they shouldn't be listening to. And that's why we have a lot of the tool that we have.
No, absolutely, man. It's just another social experiment is you go into a room and everybody else is in on it. You tell them, you hand them a blue card and a red card. And you tell them, all right, everybody hold up the blue card. Everybody around you holds up the red card, and then you put up the red card because everybody put up the red card. Like, you know, it's like you put up the wrong one just because it's social pressure, man. People just want to belong more than anything, man. Even regardless of health or anything, when you know how your parents say, if your friends jumped off a cliff, would you? It depends, man. People probably would. I'll be honest. A group of people jump off a cliff, and you don't know what. I got to go with them, man. I want to be the one guy that didn't go. Like,
right.
They'd be doing the stupidest stuff. So
I would be cool too.
Yeah, I mean, we're social creatures. We're very tribal with things. That's why everything we do is like you're in gang 1 or gang 2. I mean, right now, just think about this country right now: vaccinated, unvaccinated, white, black, religious, non-religious, conservative, liberal. Like everything, you're in a gang. You're in your tribe. You're sticking to your side, and the fact that there are so many who really don't look and question anything because their tribe is going along with it. It's pretty sad, you know. The reason I'm not getting the vaccine is not because there are so many people not getting the vaccine. I don't want to get the vaccine because I don't need it. It's just not something that I need, and that's some. I think a lot of people can agree with that. I'm not doing it because a group told me to or not to do it. Like I don't listen to the masses of people who are telling me to do something. You should kind of come to your own conclusions with things.
You should, man. Your brain's powerful, man. Y'all got to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. The Olympics are officially over. Team USA won the most gold medals, won the most medals overall, too, just edging China by 1 gold medal. You know, it's great to see that American excellence on full display, despite the fact that a lot of those people representing us may not even like this country. It's crazy that they put the flag on in the first place. But I got to say, the whole last week, man, I messed up my sleep schedule because wrestling was going on at 10 at night and then again at 5 in the morning. So I was getting up early just to turn wrestling on to see what we were doing at Team USA. Our men's freestyle team took 5 wrestlers there. We came back with 5 medals and 2 champions. And one of the greatest feel-good stories of all of it was Gable Stevenson, a 21-year-old wrestler from the University of Minnesota, named after the great Dan Gable himself. And he had a heck of a match, and you know, it's the only way. This is just American here. I just gotta say, you guys gotta see it. This is just the American way how we do things here.
Cutting him loose to come back to the center, has to have it here.
Fake snap, fake snap, fake snap, fake snap, fake snap. Fake snap, go get it, go get it, go get it.
Trying to come around, he gets the 2. It's put on the wall. Gable Stevenson at the final second grabs gold for Team USA. And here it comes. The celebration backflip, his trademark at the NCAAs.
That's a big man hitting a big backflip, y'all. That man's 265 pounds. That man's big. And the thing about it was that kid's 21 years old. You know, we knew he was a phenom from the second he got on the mat as a kid and everything. But the second he got finally a shot at the Olympics, he goes out there, he shows out. He not only does he beat, you know, the defending world champ, he beat the defending Olympic champ in the second round. He beat him bad. And I think, and just beating him on that last second shows how resilient, honestly, like it's almost like, man, that's American creed right there, man. We don't quit. We keep going. We keep rolling with it. And it was just awesome to see at full display. Like a kid that had nothing to do with it. He shouldn't have any business in this match. That guy's world renowned, all around bad boy. We got some nobody out there. Just like, who in the world? And man, we go out there. We don't step back. We go out there and compete, and we go out and we wear that flag proudly. And it's just awesome to see, man. There's some legit people out there that we don't back down. We don't care. We're not all about the hype. We just go out there and we get it done. And then afterwards, man, then we celebrate. We put the flag on and everything out there. You saw the crowd, man. That's just, I don't know about y'all, but that stuff gets me amped. Like, there's nothing but I get amped when I see that, man. People got the flag rolling, jumping up and everything on full display. Like, it's just something awesome to see. And even though they're, we kept highlighting Simone Biles and the gymnastics team and the women's soccer team, which didn't win gold. They won bronze, I believe. They won the bronze match. They didn't get to the gold medal match. Team USA's men's basketball finally pulled their heads out and won it. It's good. But man, overall, like, y'all check out Olympic wrestling, man. It's something to see, man. It's just nothing but grit and heart out there, especially with our guys out there, man. They put everything into it and they love this country. It's really, really cool to see. And then just honestly, other than watching wrestling, I didn't really tune into the Olympics, not gonna lie. Nothing really caught my eye that much. Nothing much to see.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Well, we walked away with 39 gold as the United States, the most medals overall. We had 113. Second was China with 88, and they had 38 gold. So they were pretty close to beating us in gold. But United States walks away with the most and everything, and that's just it's just a
And how many of Russia didn't compete because they shouldn't have competed, and that's the one thing I'm fed up with it. If y'all watching, if you haven't seen the documentary Icarus on Netflix, check it out. It goes into Russia's been doping since the 60s and before, and they hadn't stopped until it was finally exposed, around the 2016 time with Grigory Ryderchenkov, who used to be the team doctor and used to run RUSADA, the Russia Doping Association. They would he showed how they doped and how they cheated for years and years and years, and how literally every single athlete but the figure skaters were on steroids or on blood boosters or EPOs, some sort of illegal substance, forever and ever and ever. And yet the IOC decides, well, we'll let them compete, but not under their country's flag. It's weak, and it's stuff like that lets people go off and do what they want, knowing that there won't be serious repercussions. They should have been banned. It shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have been there until their country gets it all together. And still to this day, Vladimir Putin denies all wrongdoing. Oh, we did nothing. We did nothing wrong. We did nothing. Oh, we did nothing wrong. And I think we should have been pushing hard from day one that they should have been banned and should have never been allowed to compete. Because when we come around in other foreign affairs and anything, whether it's the United Nations, we got Russia and everybody else pointing the finger at us like we're horrible people and we're doing terrible things, and they're darn cheaters pointing the finger at us. So you got 20 pointing back at them. So in all honesty, we should have pushed way, way harder to compete. We should have pushed the IOC. This is absolute nonsense. Not even know if there's bribery or what's going on. But it was really just to see them go out there. They should have never been out there.
Well, they weren't representing Russia though. They were just individual athletes.
Russian Olympic Committee. The Russian Olympic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I see they were fifth. ROC, they were fifth with 20 gold, 71 in total. Okay, but I knew that they couldn't have the Russian flag.
Nope. They didn't get the flag, but they're still allowed to compete. Still allowed to get medals, And,
so could America do the same thing? Could Americans say, hey, I'm not going to represent America, but go out there and compete?
No, then they don't do that.
They need some sort of thing to represent. Russia couldn't compete as a country, so they created the ROC, the Russian Olympic Committee, and they're competing representing that, not the country, because Russia was banned from the Olympics.
They don't get to put the flag out there.
Yeah, so basically their only punishment was you can't have your flag, which
the supposed athletes that they caught were banned, not allowed to compete. But it's ridiculous. They could all cycle off and you'd never catch them. It's just crazy. They doing it. They had lists and names of everybody who was on. They had it all, but that's what it is.
That's insane.
It's the world sports, man. Woke sports. And here's a new thing that was in today, man. It made national headlines in the baseball world. This is funny, man, because people wanted this to be true beyond belief. Like I think it's sad that people look so hard to find racism where it doesn't exist. The MLB was investigating into whether a Colorado Rockies fan yelled a racial slur at my own guy on the Marlins out here. I've watched him a few times, man. On Brantley, and man, like literally, he's yelling. So the Rockies mascot's Dinger, and it's a triceratops. It's a dinosaur, and so he's yelling Dinger, Dinger, and they're thinking he's yelling the N-word for some stupid reason. You could hear the clear D It's not even a question, but it makes national headlines because they want to look into it and they want to figure it out. And this man's getting like going to be attacked by the woke mob, so at least they didn't release the dude's name. Like they went.
I'm about to say he about to get paid if he did.
Man,
Well, how long until they change Dinger into something else because it's so close, you know?
You know, no, they try so hard on this, and
It's not even close to me.
it's a dinger.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not, but
You can listen to it.
And again, it's 2-0. And this is not to pick on Ben.
It's a clear D.
3 yes.
He's pointing at the dinosaur.
And again, it's 2-0. And this is not to pick on
No, and here's the thing: the player himself, Lewis Brinson, said himself that he didn't hear nothing. Like the player himself said, "I didn't hear nothing." Like Lewis Brinson didn't hear nothing, man. Player Brinson, he said he didn't hear that.
That's the thing. If the person that is supposed to be offended is not even offended, why are you offended?
because people just like to be offended. That's what they like to be. It's like it's misery loves company. You know, if you're on Twitter and you're just constantly tweeting about racism and oh, this happened to me today, or look what I saw on TV or anything like that. I mean, that it's just that misery loves company. You want people to be sad because you're sad, and that you just got a sad life.
Yeah, and he got somebody here saying, what word did you hear that they yelled? The answer probably depends on your life experience. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I was raised in Deep South Mississippi. I have been called the N-word by really racist white people. They voted Democrat, I would say that. So, and it's true. I saw them go in the Democratic line, and they called me an N-word, but I never told that story before.
No, but it's just like, it depends on your life experience. What word did you?
I said that to make the point. I've heard someone clearly call me an N-word.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Nobody.
You know what it is.
So doggone it. From hearing what the man said, and I couldn't even hear an N come out of his mouth. You heard D come out of his mouth.
No, there wasn't, and that's the thing. The fact that they're arguing over who can hear it or not, like, no, we're all black, and honestly, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter what race you are. Like, we can obviously hear he's pointing at the dinosaur, and the player is even like, I hear nothing. I ain't got a problem with it. Like, people are so quick to come and try to cancel people. It's just so sad. Don't you have anything? They have anything else to do with your life? Like, go get a job,
Chris. They're angry. If you have hate fumes and angry fumes within you, and you're running out of those fumes, you gotta go to the gas station and refuel. That's the new gas station right there.
Racist. Yep, everything. You got to find something. Honestly, if you
keep it going.
Exactly. I mean, if you ain't got nothing to tweet about, I mean, better find something. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point.
For real. And I love it how usually, obviously, it's towards black people, supposedly. And then they're all like, well, the black people are offended. And all black people are like, who? None of us really care. Except for Al Sharpton. What's his name? The other one that's always Raven. Yeah, Jesse Jackson. Thank you.
It's baseball. Black people don't watch baseball. No one was offended. Come on now.
For real. Now, if it was basketball,
yeah, then it'd be on Black Twitter like that. It'd be on the shade room.
Right.
But it's baseball. Nobody black people don't watch baseball. Come on now. It was some white person that was watching. Hey, sorry, Christian, man. That's like saying golf. Tiger was the only thing we had in golf, and he was being his girlfriend or something. Or no, cheating on his girlfriend, not being her.
Man, black men don't cheat.
That's OJ, bro.
Yeah, OJ did a little bit more than being.
Allegedly. You still have to say allegedly.
No, here's the thing.
If the court did acquit him, you have to say allegedly. That's the legal.
OJ literally said he didn't want to go to LA because he was scared he was going to run into Nicole's killer. He literally said that. I'm like, man, he's on a one. He's trying to go. He's trying to go burn. He's on his way, man. I can't.
But think about it, Christian. He has to be consistent. Well, necessarily he doesn't, but it's good that he's consistent.
He could honestly
when
say
they
that he
killed-
did it.
He straight up trolled. Like, it's bad.
He could come out now and just say like, "Yeah, I killed her."
He
What
could, like-
what can they really do? He's already been tried for the crime.
They did the same. The people that killed Emmett Till did the same thing. Honestly, they came up and say, "Yeah, we killed him" in an interview after they were acquitted. So he could do it, but to be honest, I like the consistency. At least he believes he didn't do it.
At least the murderer stuck to his story, man. He's a cool guy in my book, man. I mean,
it's so bad, man. That man, like all that
What?
stuff, it's total foolery. It's total foolery.
But hey, he was a heck of a football player. I'll tell you that.
I mean, yeah, he was like so much so that he could get away with murder. Imagine how good you got to be at a sport that you can get away with murder.
But you saw after it
imagine
happened, how the court system cleaned up on everything, especially crime scene investigations, to make sure that stuff never happened again.
But,
like, man, how did we lose this one and let that go? And then make sure they never did that again.
You know how? He is one of the only people in the world to get off scot-free because he was black and tensions were high already in LA. He was the only one.
I feel low key like the difference between like Chauvin right now, and I'm not saying Chauvin's not guilty, but I feel like a lot of what played into his verdict was because of the high tensions. Like,
yeah, it's that's the other side of the coin. That it's so much so the tensions are so high they have to punish him so harshly. Which again, like you said, Chauvin's guilty. He deserves to rot under the prison. But it's obvious that the public opinion weighed heavily on that case.
Right.
Guys, I just wanted to mention something real quickly because I had been it's been coming up in a lot of my conversations, whether on work or on personal, because a lot of people wanted to ask me what did I think about Simone Biles. Now I'm trying to figure
talk about this, man.
No,
we all it's overplayed, Omar.
No, I'm just saying. It was about her body and her choice until it came up with the topic of abortion. I find it intellectually ironic and corrupt that she sacrificed American greatness at that point for herself, but for her life. But now has come out, and she just recently did this. This is why it was on my heart as well. She just recently said, "Okay, I grew up in the foster system. I wouldn't want no child living in the foster system." I'm like, lady, you made it. You're dating a football player, albeit he's a third stringer, but
hey, that's better than nothing.
Exactly.
If she's an Olympic gold medalist,
he could be poor and black. Like, that's just terrible logic to me. Like, oh, he could be poor and black. Like, oh man, you better kill it. Like, what does that mean for anything? Like, it's just so bad. Like,
and then what does that mean for poor black people? That means I'd rather be dead than you. Like, that's what that message is saying to our youth. The black community says that a lot. It's saying, I'd rather my child be dead than be you. And that's
my
despicable.
mom is adopted, right? And it's so funny because, like, I tell people all the time when they have these arguments, I'm like, I wouldn't be here. Do you want me to be dead? Like, what do you want to say to that? You know what I'm saying? Like, she was adopted. She was raised in the foster care system. She was raised by her foster mom until she was like 16 or so. And then her foster mom was like crazy. She had a rough life growing up. But now she's blessed, you know. And like, it's like just because you think they're going to have a hard life doesn't mean we don't give them an opportunity at life. You are not God. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you think on that situation. You aren't God. You don't get to say, oh, they might. Yeah, might. It's an if. It's not a is. You know.
I just see, and another reason why I put that out there is because she put the whole thing out there about, oh, she's pro-choice, her body, her choice. Because the whole, if she didn't even mention anything, of course, her other situation would have just. It would have been remembered, but it would have died off. But now that's about to come back in mainstream conservative media. Watch, I promise you.
So whatever. We'll keep focusing on things that don't matter while we lose elections. So that's great. So yeah, here's an interesting tweet I saw today. I just want to see what y'all thought about it. About time that we proposed a bill to get all people over 80 out of Congress. We forced people out of the military at 62. Serving beyond one's time to sheer act of narcissism. The world's changing too fast to have a collection of 70 to 80-year-olds making all the important decisions. What do y'all think about that?
I agree.
I'm conflicted on it. I've I'm very against term limits because I feel like people should have their right to choose. And this isn't exactly a term limit, but you should have your right to vote for who you want. And if a population is dumb enough and they vote someone in like AOC or somebody in, for instance, Detroit, we had John Conyers for 40 years, and then he started touching his employees or whatever, and then he had to resign. So personally, I do think that once you get to a certain point, it's just that mental decline. We need to get out of our culture and our society that old people are automatically more intelligent than the rest of the population. You may be wise, but you get to a point that you are actually just senile and old. You are no longer the educated one in. Like, if somebody has to teach you how to send an email, you aren't the wise one in the population anymore. So, I would say, kind of going at it, yeah, I would agree with this. I think that there's an age limit to get in. There should be an age limit on the way out as well. You shouldn't be over a certain age.
I think the whole thing is that the Constitution, they didn't anticipate people being in there for 30, 40 years. And they also didn't anticipate people, necessarily like the lifespan back then wasn't what it is now. People are living a lot much longer throughout. But no, honestly, 70, 80-year-olds making decisions right now in Congress that won't affect them because they only have a few more years of their life left. It's going to affect us because we're about to come into the whole system that they're screwing up. Baby boomers in the housing bubble, the housing crash. You got everything else that's getting destroyed right now. You got Blackstone, and we'll never own another, property for the rest of our lives. We're going to be a nation of renters, and they're going ahead and pushing all this crap through. They're this old. That stuff doesn't affect them. They're on their way out, but we're going to have to deal with this. And that's the problem.
Y'all, I am going to have to agree to disagree. I don't believe necessarily. Yeah, here's my thing. I'm for term, and this is why I'm for term limits, Chris. I don't think you're supposed to be in office, but for a certain number of years. If you can't affect change in really 18, 20 years, you need to go. That's why I am for term limits. I do see your argument, although I will say this is one of your libertarian splits. Because I've always heard term limits as a libertarian argument for some reason. But anyway, I'll say this. It's just because an old person does not know how to use technology does not mean we can't learn from them. I'll say they're not, I'll say their wisdom is not in them using our technology or our ways. It's how we learn from what they did and incorporate that. I wouldn't say just because they don't know how to use email doesn't mean that they can't contribute to society or can't contribute to something in my life, because things come and go. But there used to be a saying that old people used to say, the devil still uses the same tricks, and I'm really paraphrasing. The devil uses the same tricks, even though times have changed and other things have changed. The devil still uses the same tricks, same games. So honestly, things are the same. Situations are the same, even though they look different. And all you have to do is incorporate wisdom from years past into that, and there are ways to incorporate wisdom from years past. So I wouldn't expel people from Congress that are 70 and 80 years old. I just put strict term limits. And here's one thing we could do: grandfather them in. We can grandfather the people that are already in Congress in. So okay, let's just say we passed the term limit bill now and had 2 terms in the Senate, whatever. At the end of your current term, even if you just got elected to another 6-year term and you're 70, whatever, at the end of your term, you're phased out. Well, let's phase them out. Grandfather.
So I got to ask you though, Omar. My question for you is: Is it okay that there's 70 to 80-year-olds right now that are passing laws that aren't going to affect them in the future because they're about to die, and they're going to leave us footing the bill for all this crap?
Well, we don't know when they're gonna die. They could live to be 100. They got to live through this crap too.
But here's the thing, they're on their way out the door. They are past their prime. They are
Can I
past
ask
the
a
time.
question? So are we for, and this is what I think we're making it two different distinctions here. One is age limits and one's term limits. So
Yeah. I'm talking about people too old get out. And
too
term limit,
old,
sure,
so
but I'm
age
talking about
limit.
I think
Okay.
what I'm saying, Sonny, is term limits fixes age limits, especially if we put a clause in those term limits that grandfathers people out of the political scene.
Because I do see both arguments. I see one on your part, Omar, where you're saying, just because they might be old doesn't mean they're seeing out enough where they can't, make certain decisions. And I would agree with that because my grandmother, she's 80. She's in a wheelchair, but she's sharp as a whip. She's very wise. But not all old people are wise at the same time. So I see Christian's point where he's saying, you're old, you're making decisions for the younger generation that are going to affect you. And I think that's where it should come down to the voters who say, hey, you need to do a test to see if you're even capable to be in office if you're old and also have term limits where a lot of people.
It's not even about being old. It's about just it's past time. Like, it's past time. I'm not talking about.
Yeah.
They can probably do a good job. I'm just saying at that point, like you got to pass it on. It's time.
Right. I feel you. Well, I do, but I do believe nobody in their 70 or 80 should be in office, and I'm saying that in the case of, like, you should be retired. Nobody should be working at that age. I'm sorry. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying?
It's just like it said, it's narcissistic. That's all it is.
I was going to say it's a power thing.
Yeah, coming from somebody who is from, and I'm not sure if your guys' states have term limits. My state has very strict term limits. It's 2 in the state Senate and 3 in the state House. So the one issue with term limits, I just want to say that I know we're talking about age limits, but I want to touch on this, then go to age limits. The problem with term limits is you have to get rid of lobbying if you're going to have term limits. The reason why is the only people who have any idea of what they're doing in the Capitol, in Michigan at least, are lobbyists because they've been there for 30 years. Everyone else is new. They don't know what's going on. You need at least 2 terms before you even really understand what's going on. And then you already only have 1 term left. And then you're actually leadership. You end up being leadership and you barely know what's going on. That's why, Michigan politics, it's so it's just so quick and so fast because people are going to be phased out very quickly. And going to age limits, I'm actually for that. I would say that, and the only reason I would say I'm for that is because we know as a society, once you are 20, in Congress, 25, once you're 25, you're an adult, you probably have property, you've learned a thing or two, you've experienced life, you then are able to run for Congress because you're old enough, you've experienced some sort of life. Now, once you hit that 70-year-old mark, you've experienced too much life. You are getting onto not even a physical, a mental decline. You are not where you used to be, and you don't represent the majority of people anymore. Your opinions and your ideas are now the minority of people in this country. Most people in this country are not 70 plus. So I would agree that having an age limit on elected representatives would be fine. But then again, we also have to remember Donald Trump was 70. What was he, 71 when he was elected into office, or so, and I'm sure 70. Yeah. So, and we all supported Trump. So, I mean, does that make us hypocrites? I don't know.
That's what I was saying. Like, I think there's a distinction, like, because I see both arguments and I think they're both good arguments. I really, truly do. But as you mentioned, John Trump was 70 and he was a great, phenomenal president. But then also there are our current president who's close to 80 in his 80s. Who's not a phenomenal president, and I think it's a lot to do because of his age. So I think there's
here too. The squad. You got young people in here that are
right, exactly.
So like you exactly.
I mean, you have some on the right
as well.
Why
I see both arguments, and it's like they're great arguments. And one thing, and this is a little biblical, but you can read in the scripture where there was kings who were wise, and then there was old kings who were not as wise. And so wisdom doesn't have an age limit. A lot of people say that old people are wise, which isn't true. Or they'll say people with gray heads are supposed to be wise, which is not true. And that's because just because you have age doesn't mean you have an experience. And I think that tells a lot about a person, and that's why we need to vote towards people who match up with our beliefs, not just because they've been in office a certain amount of time. And that's what a lot of politicians have been, or constantly in office, is not because of their track record. Like our current president, his re-elections weren't always because of his track record, because it was horrible. It's because he was a politician all his life. People are used to seeing a name and they're like, oh, I don't know X, Y, and Z on here, but I know this person. I'm gonna vote for him because I seen him last time, or I voted for him last time because he said one thing I liked, but I don't know what he stands for today. You know, and so it's really up to the voters to educate themselves, and I don't think a lot of people do that enough on who they're voting for. But also, I will say, kind of touching back to what you said, Christian, that it's pertinent for who's ever in power to leave a lasting, you know, legacy for the people that comes after them. Like, I'm not a father, but if I was a father, my intention would be to not only raise my son right or my daughter right, but also raise them in a way where they're set for life in whatever capability. Maybe it's not money, maybe it's wisdom, maybe it's knowledge on how to do certain things. Like my dad wasn't the richest, but he gave me a lot of knowledge that a lot of people my age do not have. You know, and I think that's his legacy for me. You know, like I said, it's not always maybe land, but those in power should be trying to leave something for the next generation. And if you're not doing that, as you mentioned, Christian, what are you in power for? Like you're jacking up our future. You know, you are jacking up the world we're going to live in. Get out.
No, there's no big picture like view from them. They're like, man, let's pass this $1 trillion stimulus right now. No future, like no care for the future ramifications of what they're about to do right now. They have no care about what's going to happen in the near future, in the next 20 years, based on this inflation. Just print more money. They don't care. They have no idea. No, it's not a but they don't care about none of that. They don't care about any of that, and that's the problem that I have. There's got to be a way.
I do have to ask you something on that, Christian, because you mentioned the package, even though it's not a stimulus, it's an infrastructure package that either just passed or is about to pass.
Well, they're talking
remember. Anyway,
about throwing in another stimulus. They're talking about throwing in.
But it's all separated. It would all be separated, but not talking about that. What I'm talking about is now if Trump would have tried to pass this infrastructure bill with the same numbers or somewhat around the same numbers, would you have supported it?
No.
The whole thing about this one too, along with the money being spent, it's all poison. It's all crap. It's not good. You know,
Trump was not small government.
I'd have a hard time justifying spending this much money, but I'd have to also look at where it's going. This is garbage. It's not good.
So
Trump wasn't fiscally conservative. Changed my mind.
Well, Americans come first. Change my mind.
I like a balanced budget, please. The last one to do that was Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton. It was Bill Clinton.
So thank you, Bill Clinton. You know, he was doing what we needed.
Yeah, you're never gonna hear those words out of my mouth.
He was also.
Hear that one here.
Well, I mean, you could also give a lot of credit to Newt Gingrich and the fact that they had bipartisan support for that. But that's something I feel like that a lot of conservatives, they're like, yeah, we have a president. Like, we're supposed to remember that we're supposed to be conservative, small government, fiscally conservative, like. And that's, exactly what this comment is saying. What's hidden in the package, omnibus spending bills are 100% anti-limited government. The fact that they can pass thousands of bills with one bill, that is what's problematic. There should not be a 3,000-page bill, a $3 trillion bill. That is all against limited government. Every single issue in that bill needs to be voted on in Congress. That is what I believe.
Well, it's hard to do that when they give it to you 4 hours before it has to be approved.
That's
throw it on your desk and say, "Hey, here you go."
And that's if it was changed though. But that's what I'm saying. That it would not be like that. I mean, the reason they do that is so you don't get the opportunity to read it before the vote. But if they made it to where omnibus spending bills, so thank you. If they made it where omnibus spending bills were illegal or they weren't allowed, and they changed the rules in Congress, then you would have it to where they would have to bring up every individual issue and vote on them. And now people aren't going to vote on every single issue because they don't care. They don't care about renaming a post office or something like that. They don't care about those little things, but they will show up for the big things, the things that matter to their constituents and things like that. That's what I believe, and that's what would truly help change America. They just named these bills things that sound good. Like I voted for the Patriot Act. But when was the last, is that a good thing? No, of course it's not. Patriot Act. What's the one that Joe Biden's doing? American Rescue Plan, or that's the last one. Are we rescued? Am I rescued? I did not get my 40 acres and a mule yet, so I have not been rescued. This is some
Can we get rescued from the gas prices? That's all.
Yeah, exactly. I have yet to be rescued.
No, so man, I think this is a great place to end it. As we go, we're hitting the final thoughts. Before we do that, y'all, just got to make the announcement, man. Omar is single. Ready to mingle.
Why? You really
guy.
wanted me to curse
He's a
tonight.
heck of a guy. He's got
he's a smart guy. We call him the professor.
Professor, man, he's a policy man. We love him to death.
He likes fruit snacks.
Ladies, you shoot your shot anytime. This man will answer at some point. Give him a few business days. He will get back to you. I promise.
Omar, can we get your email in the chat, please?
Good shout out, man. I'm single too.
we got two on the show then.
Go ahead, Omar. No, send them all.
He done dipped.
He
done flipped after this one. I'm gonna hear this one later. I'm gonna hear this one later. This is great.
But you are you're full of it. You know that. I'm not gonna say it on the show. I'm gonna say it later.
Okay. Nothing but good thoughts and greatness. Man, so you don't sign the bill. I'm sure that means right mind would sign anything of importance, not reading and understanding it. I mean, that's what they do, though.
Well, you're judged by your percentage of what you are voting on. If you go to Congress and you only vote on 40% of the bills, you're going to be primaried or voted out. Like your constituents don't like that, and that's a problem with the American people. The fact that we are just look at those numbers and say, "Well, they vote 99% of the time." Woo! Well, what are they voting on? That's what we really need to be looking into. But people don't care that much to take a look at the actual issues and look at what their representatives are voting on, because I guarantee you all of these bipartisan bills that are going out with trillions of dollars and things like that, there are so many things in there that you would not agree with that you would easily vote somebody out for.
But it's diverse, it's diversity. So
it's all diverse. It's all okay. It's all good.
If red and blue go ahead and vote on something that violates everybody's rights, that makes it.
It's almost like the two-party system is broken, and we need a third party, one about liberty and individual government and individual rights. It's crazy. Like we need to start one of them parties, guys. I think maybe we could have a. What is it? A hedgehog or something as what Omar? What's the Libertarian Party sigil? Is it a hedgehog? Porcupine? I forget.
All right, here's you can grow up or you can be a libertarian.
I thought it was an eagle.
You know what?
You can grow up or be a libertarian.
It's not an eagle. It's like
a phase. When you get out the phase, and then we'll be
here. Either you die a hero like I plan to do, or you can become a villain. I'm big government because my morals say so.
Government.
Libertarian values all day. I'm just saying that.
Ooh, the boogeyman. The boogeyman.
It is the boogeyman.
You know what, Chris? I want you to run in Michigan. I feel like
I'll run.
You might.
I'll run in a few years, maybe. We'll see. Well, not a few years. I'll run.
Well, you got eight more years, and you could challenge Gary Peters or what's that other one? The crazy one. Debbie Stabenow.
There you go. Woman. She's been in Senate since 2000, so she probably is going to retire here.
Right. Dianne Feinstein is 90 years old, and she just won re-election, I think.
That's true.
About to be re-elected.
I think she got re-elected, and will after this term will be like 92 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, my final thoughts. My last thing is, people think for yourselves. Everybody's pressuring you. Think about why people are pressuring you, why the media is pressuring you, why the culture is pressuring you, why the government's pressuring you to go do something, and then make that decision yourself. Also, rest in peace to the late and great Bobby Bowden. Prayers out to his family. Man was a Florida legend, great coach of Florida State. Passed away at 91 years old just the other day. And it's my final thoughts of the day.
All I'm gonna say is, folks, it's time for us to start praying again. If you haven't been praying, please start. Especially like Christian said with these gas prices. I'm just mention that the gas is too high. I have never seen gas in Mississippi go over $3, even when Obama was in office. If it goes over $3, I'm going. No, I can't say that. They since January 6th, they started pegging people and started arresting them. So I'm gonna be quiet.
Are you calling for Article 5? Is that what
I'm gonna be quiet. Joe Biden's probably watching this. I'm gonna be quiet.
Man, everybody.
Joe Biden, if you're watching, Why can't you read anymore? What happened, man? Old fart.
Oh man. All right, Sonny, what's your final thoughts, man?
You know, as already been said, we just need to be a lot more prayer. I would say rest in peace. Who passed away just the other day.
You're cutting in and out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like your microphone is like far away or something.
On off. Yeah.
One of my mics died. So
Oh, there you go.
Let me see if I can fix that real quick.
Try it again. Try it. Well, yeah, no, it's there's no sound.
We had you too.
A mic soon. I'm gonna get a mic soon.
There you go.
We're gonna get you set up right, man.
I'd say for my final thought, essentially, I really think that this is a time where you have to stand up and fight for all those complaining about, big government, complaining about vaccine mandates, complaining about being forced to take the vaccine or lose your job or things like that. This is all a result of the last 20 years of just allowing the government to inch by inch take away your rights, and we have done nothing. We have voted in the same people every 4 years, every 2 years, every 6 years, and they are doing the same exact thing, red or blue. I don't care if they're a Republican or they're a Democrat. They're doing the same thing because it makes their job easier. They want to take away your rights. It's hard to rule over people who have rights and individual liberties. When you take those away, it's much easier. So we're doing them a favor by laying down and doing what they want. We have to fight. This is now the time to stand up and fight. You, your children, your parents, we need to stand up. And I'm not saying physically fight. If it comes to that, then sure. But I'm saying actually just stand up and fight for your rights. Your right to just live as you wish to live. And that's what we need to do. We can no longer allow the government and big tech or universities or anything to push us around anymore. So I'm honestly just sick and tired of hearing from conservatives or people on the right, libertarians, whatever, that complain about these encroachments on the right and do nothing. You're a coward. And I'm going to start calling people out for that. Stop being a coward, get in the fight, because you're not doing anything at the end of the day.
Yeah, man. Get off the sidelines and get in the game, y'all.
Exactly.
Goes now. Let's go.
It's game time.
It's game time. Well, y'all, it's been another episode of Black Friday. We thank you so much for tuning in.
You know what?
We'll see y'all soon, and God bless.